The ocean winds howl across the south shore of Long Island, carrying with them the salty air of the Atlantic and a darkness that lingers long after the sun has set. Marshes stretch endlessly, filled with reeds swaying like restless souls. From a distance, the peaceful coastline seems idyllic, but buried beneath the sand lies a chilling truth. This was not just a stretch of beach. It was a graveyard. Gilgo Beach. A name once known only to locals became synonymous with terror, secrecy, and the shadow of a killer who stalked the margins of society. For years, the beach seemed ordinary, lined with vacation homes, fishermen casting their lines into the surf, children chasing waves. But beyond the dunes, silence held a secret too horrifying to ignore. Life before the discoveries felt deceptively safe. Suburban families went about their routines, commuting into New York City, walking dogs along narrow lanes, sipping coffee in diners where everybody knew everybody. There was crime, of course, but nothing that prepared this community for what would soon unravel. The first hints of unease came quietly, almost like whispers in the wind. Women from nearby towns began to vanish. They were young, vibrant, but living on the margins, often connected to sex work, Craigslist ads, and late-night phone calls that led them into unknown dangers. Families filed missing person reports, but too often their concerns were brushed aside. A phone call, seemingly ordinary, would later prove vital. A man's voice on the line, arranging a meeting. Anonymous, quick, detached. It was a routine transaction until the women never came home. That call became the first thread in a web of horror stretching over a decade. The victims had names. They had lives. Shannan Gilbert, 24, a hopeful singer with dreams of making it big. Melissa Barthelemy, 24, a young woman from Buffalo who wanted to build a better life. Megan Waterman, 22, a mother of one. Amber Costello, 27, who struggled with addiction but was loved fiercely by her family. And they were not alone. One by one, more names surfaced, lives extinguished, bodies abandoned near Gilgo Beach. In total, authorities would eventually connect at least 11 victims to the case. Shannan Gilbert's story became the spark that lit the investigation. On May 1, 2010, after meeting a client in Oak Beach, she placed a frantic 911 call that lasted 22 minutes. Her voice trembled as she repeated the same desperate words. "They're trying to kill me." That night she vanished into the darkness, never to be seen alive again. Her family remembered her as restless yet hopeful. Shannan wanted to provide for them, to carve out a better life. But behind her laughter were shadows, secrets of online escort ads and dangerous encounters. Her last night alive was filled with confusion, terror, and unanswered questions. Her boyfriend waited for her call. Her mother sat awake with worry. But as dawn broke, Shannan's absence was undeniable. Panic turned to dread, and dread gave way to a search that would open a door no one was ready to walk through. The shadows in her life stretched further than anyone realized. Shannan's driver claimed she ran off into the marsh after arguing with her client. Neighbors in Oak Beach later recalled hearing screams, but their stories conflicted. What really happened in those early hours remained shrouded in fear. Police began to search for Shannan, but instead of finding her on December 11, 2010, they uncovered something else, wrapped in burlap, buried in the sand, the remains of another woman, and then another and another. 4 bodies in total, each lined up along the brush of Gilgo Beach. The discovery shocked even seasoned detectives. 4 women, all young, all sex workers, all gone missing within a short span of time. The media pounced, dubbing the unknown predator the Long Island serial killer. The community trembled. As the search widened, more horrors surfaced. By spring of 2011, a total of 10 sets of human remains had been discovered along Ocean Parkway. Some were identified, others were not, and not all were whole. Torsos found in one area, skulls and limbs in another. The dismemberment suggested either extreme cruelty or deliberate attempts to prevent identification. Forensic teams were desperate for answers. But the killer left behind almost nothing. No DNA, no fingerprints, no usable camera footage. It was as though he moved like a ghost, slipping through every net investigators cast. The lack of forensic evidence became its own haunting clue, painting the portrait of someone meticulous, calculating, and patient. Witnesses came forward with fragments of accounts. Residents reported strange vehicles parked along the desolate roads late at night. Some recalled phone calls, chilling taunts from someone claiming to know the victims. One family received repeated calls where a male voice whispered about their daughter's death, stretching the horror beyond the grave. The community of Gilgo Beach, once sleepy, isolated, quiet, was thrust into a storm of flashing cameras, FBI agents, and suspicion. Local diners filled with murmurs, parents locked their doors earlier, and everyone asked the same question: who was hiding among them? Rumors spread like wildfire. Was it a fisherman who knew the tides well enough to hide bodies? Was it a police officer, skilled in covering tracks? Some whispered it was a wealthy recluse in one of the mansions overlooking the sea. Fear turned neighbors against one another. Police mounted an intense investigation. K-9 units combed the marshland, officers mapped out patterns, and the FBI joined in. They traced phone records, Craigslist ads, and the final digital footprints of each woman. But every answer uncovered only deepened the mystery. Red herrings abounded. A doctor from Oak Beach was briefly suspected after Shannan vanished near his home. A disgraced ex-cop was whispered about in bars. Dozens of names circulated, but none seemed to fit. The killer remained a phantom. Conflicting testimonies clouded the picture. Some said Shannan's screams were heard. Others insisted she ran into the marsh alone, disoriented. Friends claimed she feared someone was following her long before that night. Every voice seemed both vital and unreliable at once. Piece by piece, investigators built a timeline. From 2007 to 2010, women vanished, each lured by calls from burner phones. The bodies lay hidden until one desperate search illuminated them all. The chilling truth was undeniable. Someone had been hunting on Long Island for years. Theories spiraled. Some believed multiple killers were at work, given the differences in victim profiles and the dismemberment of certain remains. Others whispered of organized crime, police conspiracies, or even satanic cults. The lack of clear answers bred paranoia that consumed the island. Investigators themselves came under fire. Families accused police of dragging their feet, prioritizing their own reputations over justice. Critics said corruption at the highest levels stalled progress. Trust between the community and law enforcement fractured. By 2020, frustration reached a breaking point. Public outrage demanded transparency, and new leadership within the Suffolk County Police Department promised to re-examine the evidence with fresh eyes. It was a turning point, though answers would not come immediately. And then, in 2022, something shifted. A new task force, led by Commissioner Rodney Harrison, began to unravel the case. With renewed urgency, they pored over old files, tested evidence once thought useless, and followed digital trails with modern technology. And then, a break. DNA evidence and cell phone records converged on a man named Rex Heuermann, a 59-year-old architect living in Massapequa Park, married, with children, a seemingly ordinary suburban father. Yet his digital footprint told another story. Burner phones, disturbing online searches, and connections to the very victims found on Gilgo Beach. The confrontation came swiftly. Surveillance teams watched him for months. They retrieved DNA from a discarded pizza crust and matched it to hair found on the victims. The web of lies collapsed in silence, and in July 2023, Heuermann was arrested. The revelation shocked the community. This man, who commuted daily to Midtown Manhattan, who lived quietly in a house neighbors described as eerie and unkempt, was accused of being the monster that haunted Long Island for over a decade. In court, the details were chilling. Prosecutors outlined his meticulous planning, using burner phones, stalking victims, studying police methods. The portrait painted was of a man who lived a double life, hiding monstrous urges behind the mask of normalcy. For families, the trial brought both relief and fresh agony. The faces of their daughters, sisters, and mothers flashed across screens once more. Their pain was raw, but so was their determination to see justice served. Yet questions lingered. Was Heuermann the only killer? Some bodies didn't fit the same pattern. Could there be others still out there? Even as the trial unfolded, shadows of doubt stretched across the investigation. Gilgo Beach itself changed forever. What once was a quiet retreat became infamous, a place marked by tragedy, forever linked to the horrors uncovered there. Locals spoke of lost innocence, of never looking at the dunes the same way again, and as the waves crash endlessly against the shore, one haunting thought remains. The sand still holds secrets. For every answer revealed, there are questions buried deeper, waiting, reminding us that the line between ordinary life and unimaginable darkness is thinner than we want to believe.